Why is freedom humanity's greatest flaw? This is the basis of the tale of the Grand Inquisitor and the Brothers Karamazov. Out of everything I have ever read, this is the most profound treatment of the human problem of freedom and its implications for humanity. In the post-Lapsarian world, humanity itself bears the curse and the gift of true freedom. With freedom comes several impositions, those of existential anxiety, moral choice, and lastly, human interpretation. It's this tragic tension between the dignity of moral agency and the terror of its consequences that Ivan's tale sets out to explore. The setting is an inquisitor during the Spanish Inquisition in a cell with a new, quiet, meek prisoner. Ivan implies this is Christ reincarnated and returned. The Inquisitor says he knows who he is and questions why he has returned to humanity. As the Inquisitor says, there is no need for him anymore. And I quote here, "Decide for yourself who was right, you or the one who questioned you that day. Remember the first question, though, not in literal terms, in its sense was this: if you want to go into the world and are going there with empty hands, with a kind of promise of freedom, which they in their simplicity and inborn turpitude are unable even to comprehend, which they go in fear and awe of, for nothing has ever become more unendurable to man in human society than freedom." So in this quote we see humanity is asking for freedom, but humanity doesn't realize in its naive ignorance, it doesn't realize that what it's truly asking for, and what that implies is that humanity doesn't really comprehend kind of the weight of this burden that it's asking to inherit. The Inquisitor continues on here. "Are you aware that centuries will pass and mankind will proclaim with the lips of its wisdom and science that there is no crime and conscience without sin either, but only the hungry? Feed them and then ask virtue of them." Here Dostoevsky reveals his prophetic foresight, for he knows the time will come when man will reject God and the divine for science and the material and proclaim a moral relativist position of no crime and consequentially no sin either. Dostoevsky, in his brilliance, foresees that the beginnings of the seedlings of this movement in its time, and that we currently find ourselves in just such a situation, in a world where it's exactly as he describes. If there is no God and there's no moral authority, the church, as the Inquisitor argues, man left in his unbridled freedom to choose between moral options will be in a state of disillusionment. With no orientation of up or down, the power and veracity of these words can be seen through some examples. In Sophocles' tragedy Antigone, the center of the drama revolves just around such a problem and moral dilemma. Antigone has to bury her brother and go against the state's moral values. So we see the state's morals versus, say, in the Greek gods' morals in this case. There's, of course, the other famous example of a moral dilemma of the trolley problem, which lever do you pull? Do you save the one or do you save the many? And then just another example from Greek tragedy would be Orestia, like Aeschylus's Orestia, where Orestes goes and kills his mother Clytemnestra, who killed his father. And of course, this is a case of, basically just him avenging his father or, taking his mother's life. So there's these like moral dilemmas that pop up, and Greek tragedy is a great example of these. But I mean, this happens all the time in human beings' lives. These kind of different levels and cases of moral dilemmas that show up. Now let's turn to the science component. I quote here, "In the place of your temple there will be erected a new edifice. Once again a terrible Tower of Babel will be erected, and even though this one will not be no more complete than was the previous one." The builder's aim in this new one, of course, is going to be the same one as the old Tower of Babel. It'll be much the same. The builder's aim is to physically reach the divine, symbolizing the ambition of human reason and technology. to conquer nature, and even to transcend morality. The limitation of science, of course, is that science can just tell us what is, but science can't evaluate and assign value and interpret this for us. I quote, "Feed us, for those who promised us fire from heaven have not granted it. The problem is human interpretation. Man lives not by bread alone. Give man earthly paradise, which is the current goal and trajectory of science, in a sense kind of the entire program of science, is to overcome and defeat the heat death of the universe. So give man material utopia, but this still won't be enough. Man will find a way through his freedom to destroy it just for the sake of asserting his freedom." So we see here that really the unreconcilable issue comes from freedom. Through man's fall from paradise, humanity comes to have freedom. And I'm going to put a graphic here basically explaining that since human beings have freedom, that leads to an ability to evaluate, interpret, and value assign. And then you have a thing, it can be a thing, idea, or anything that just exists. In this case, materialist utopia. The value and assignment that gets mapped to this can really be varied, right? This materialist utopia can be viewed both positive and negative by some and by others. Just because people are free to assign value, their interpretations will vary. We already see this with current technology and its advancement. So if you think about AI and its promises for a future utopia, there's a group that views this AI utopia as a positive, right? So you have like techno accelerationists who view this as a positive, but you also have another group that views this as a negative, reactionaries basically to this advancement. Because of freedom, this problem of interpretation is fundamentally unreconcilable. Because freedom is one of the kernels of what makes human beings human, the problem is human beings themselves and how they are constituted originally. There's no really way to go beyond this problem. One of the fundamental parts that is definitive of human beings is just this freedom. So we end up discovering that man's greatest gift is also its greatest burden. This is basically one of the key aspects of this story. There's many more ways to, I think, explore freedom. In this case, I've just picked like two: moral relativism here, and of course this ability of freedom to interpret. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. I hope you liked it. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I have many more of these coming up. So yeah, see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.